Hello, I'm Damian Keller, and today I'm talking with Dr. Jarrah Al-Tubaikh, MD, of the German Board of Radiology, Munich. Dr. Jarrah published Internal Medicine, an Illustrated Radiological Guide in April of 2010, and is the co-author of Congenital Diseases and Syndromes, published in February of 2011. He contacted me early in 2015 while reading my first book, and commissioned me to research the claims of healing frequencies found in the chants of the three Abrahamic religions: the Psalms of the Gregorian chants, the cantillation of the Torah, and the chanting of the verses of the Quran. This was a project I had intended for the first book, but had difficulty finding contacts to consult on the topic. Our research and findings were enlightening, and were published in my second book in December of 2015. We join the conversation as Dr. Jarrah explains the challenges in presenting what are currently considered alternative modalities to the modern medical community.
I'm trying to make something, but some people, they are just very happy with their ignorance. They don't want anything, that tells them think a little. And some people, were very skeptical, but now they're trying to understand, especially that they see me using some devices, and they're getting, a lot of good results. Especially that I'm doing, images before and after using the radiology. So there is an image they see that the anatomy or, some of the pathology is changing.
Right.
Not any medication.
Yeah.
So, but as I said, it's always when I start to talk about, the physics behind it, people, they start, to get fed up, or they just don't want to listen. Why? Because you're gonna now explain about Einstein, quantum theory, about blah, 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 and they just get, some of them, they get interested.
Right.
But again, and this is, I was keeping these information for one of your questions. If you're going to ask me about, for example, medicine, etc., I was going to speak about something called quantum biology.
Okay, yeah.
This is the secret, actually, of all this. What you do with the sound and what I'm doing with light or with electricity or magnetic.
Right. Yeah, what I know you told me some of the stuff you were using before with light. What are some of the things you're using now? Are you what kind of machines or devices are you using for light therapies in your practice?
Okay. Let me just for your audience later on, because believe me, I've been there. Nobody will teach you this, and not because it's difficult, simply because people who are speaking about this are physicists.
Right.
They are speaking from physics point of view to, let's say, physicians or biologists. Okay, and there is miscommunication. There is one very famous cellular biologist. He's American. His name is Bruce Lister. First time I heard about his name when I was in Germany, he was doing some tours, in Germany, Austria. He has a book, a very famous book called The Biology of Twins. He's a cellular biologist. He's been teaching medicine at a medical school for 10 years.
Okay.
Now he is a teacher for quantum biology. He showed, and I have most of his lectures on DVDs. One of his lectures, he put a pyramid with five lines. He said that usually this is the pyramid of science. The base is mathematics, then physics, then chemistry, then biology, then psychiatry or psychology. He said that usually when the base is changing, the others above it, the other parts of the pyramid should change. For example, mathematics changed now into something called fractal mathematics.
Right.
The Newtonian physics has changed into quantum physics.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The classical chemistry has changed into something called electrochemistry.
Okay.
The relation between electricity and chemistry. Unfortunately, biology and psychiatry are static. They didn't change with the changing of time.
Right.
So that's why he's saying that medicine, and which of course is based on, supposedly based on biology, is now 50 to 70 years behind the other sciences that are creating all things that you're using. You're using, for example, iPhone or iPad, or all this technology is based on quantum physics in industry. However, this is like a taboo or forbidden science to apply it on biology, for example.
Right. Yeah.
Why? Because of the pharmaceutical companies, okay, and the teachings that indoctrinate, all doctors, that medicine is, he put it in a very, very elegant way. He said, medicine is based on Newtonian physics.
Right.
While biology, real biology, is based on quantum physics. He said something very, very powerful, and I'm now teaching even my colleagues, okay, about this. This is as a start, okay, so you can understand what quantum biology is.
Okay.
He said Newtonian physics, for example, has, let's say, one of their laws, something called the second law of thermodynamics. It says, for example, if you have a cup of tea, which is hot, if you kept it there for half an hour, it will become equal in temperature with room temperature, especially if you're in a cold room.
Right.
Why? Because according to this law, heat will be dissipated by radiation, for example, from the high to the low until they become equal. Now, this law doesn't apply to the body. Let's say you're in a cold room, you're 37 degrees Celsius, okay? So, you will not lose your heat until you become equal with the room, no matter how long you will stay there.
Right.
So, there is something inside you that doesn't obey this law.
Right.
So you can understand that's why he put it in a very elegant way. Living body follow quantum physics. Dead body follow Newtonian physics.
Right.
For example, a dead body simply will lose its heat until it becomes equal with the room temperature or the area where he is. That's why, for example, if you see CSI series, the forensics, they can know let's say the time of death by measuring the liver's heat. Because it's the last organ to lose its heat.
Right.
So this type of, let's say, knowledge, once you start to understand this, that, for example, your health is based on quantum physics. This is not in the interest of, let's say, conventional medicine, because drugs are treating defective biology. And defective biology, let's say, as the example of Bruce Lipton, he said, let's say, for example, as a healthy cell follows quantum physics. But disease cell, because it's starting to die, it will start to obey the Newtonian physics. That's why drugs will make a change. Why? Because drugs are based on Newtonian physics. Now somebody will tell me, okay, it works. You're saying that a disease cell will start to respond to Newtonian physics. That's why, drugs are working.
Right.
No. it will remove the symptoms only, but it will not return the cell to its previous function and previous health, because to be in optimum health, the cell has to follow the quantum physics again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All you're doing by using the medications, you're just stabilizing Newtonian physics. So you're preventing the cell from dying.
Mm-hmm.
But preventing the cell from dying doesn't mean you're healthy.
Right. Right.
Which is why most of medicine is given, and they tell you you have to take it for life.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Insulin for life. Hypertension medication for life.
Yeah.
Let's say if you have genetic defect for life.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple sclerosis, all of these, degenerative, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's for life.
Right.
Simply, you're hooked. You're becoming a customer for life now.
Yeah. Yeah, and they wouldn't be interested in a cure, because then you won't be a customer for life anymore, so.
I think, I don't know which lecture I was listening to, and the lecturer said something very funny, but unfortunately it's right. He said a cured patient is a lost customer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the point is, actually, quantum biology, which is, by the way, is thriving in Germany now, in Germany and Russia.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can find a lot of books and a lot of lectures. They are in German and they are in Russian. Very rarely you find something English or translated from English.
Right.
So the quantum biology simply is how you apply quantum physics on biology,
mm-hmm.
and how to charge the cell again.
Right.
And charge the cell to get your health, not just to relieve the symptoms. And of course, one of the basics of quantum biology is Einstein's famous formula. Energy equals mass multiplied by the speed of light square, E equals mc square.
Right.
And this small formula, if you want to apply it for biology and explain it to the layman, simply it's saying that all matter that you see is just an energy that has been slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. So, for example, in Einstein theory, if you took, for example, an egg or a ball and you shoot it, okay, and the speed of light, where it will lose its mass and become energy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, if you do the opposite, you took, this energy and you slowed it down, depending on how much you slow it down, it will start to reform into a mass.
Mm-hmm.
For example, let's say metal. Metal, you cannot break metal.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the energy is very, very slow. And that's why the atoms are very slow, and the attraction between the atoms are very, very powerful.
Right.
However, if you got an egg, you can easily crush it with your fingers, because the energy is, faster than than metal.
Right.
Which is why, with some energy, the slightest energy you can give, you can make the atoms break free from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, if matter is energy, it can respond to energy. It can absorb energy.
Right.
Which is where the quantum biology play at, or quantum medicine. You need to send energy. Now, if you go to the periodic table contains all the elements on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
These elements, Now, the chemical property depends on what? Depends on how much proton and electrons they have.
Right.
Therefore, each atom has its own frequency based on how much protons and neutrons and electrons it has.
Right.
So each element has its own frequency. For example, if you ask any physicist, they have the metal, or let's say they brought some rocks from the moon or from anywhere in Earth. How can they say that this, for example, rock is composed of, let's say, nitrogen? And if you, for example, any scientist will tell you the composition of the of any rock or any metal you bring, let's say raw metal, is based on they heat it and they see the light that comes from it.
Okay.
The deep lights are very specific to each element. For example, oxygen, it emits blue light. Hydrogen, it emits red light, and so on. So they can know the composition based on the light that is coming from any element when it's heated. This they call them Fraunhofer lines. The point is, they know it based on the frequency.
Right.
Therefore, what you are trying to deal with in quantum biology or quantum medicine is the frequency.
Right. Right. It's interesting.
Always the frequency. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, just in regards to the periodic table, too, it's interesting that even the law of octaves was, until recently, only applied to musical notes, within our range of hearing and then just below, and then only to the periodic table, whereas now that they've photographed light as both a particle and a wave, they understand that the law of octaves actually applies all the way across the spectrum, and that will lead to solutions to many other problems that I think a lot of science and physics have been trying to solve for a long time. They'll be able to equate and solve the problems a lot faster by accepting the law of octaves, because the periodic table is also frequencies, and so is everything else. They're finally getting to the point of admitting and understanding that a little bit further. So.
Yeah, and this is, by the way, it's sometimes I explain it to people, they get really interested. You know why? Because you're making something very, very let's say intellectually demanding into a very simple. It's like you're saying that it's like you're telling them a story.
Right.
What is quantum physics and how it's applied? Simply put, you are just an energy that has been slowed down. You're made of light.
Right.
You're made of light. Okay. Therefore, you have a frequency. Each tissue, by the way, it has its own frequency. Why? Simply because each tissue in your body is composed of so many elements. For example, thyroid tissue, it's known for the layman, each one. That, thyroid needs iodine, for example.
Right.
Okay. So, thyroid tissue is, accumulates iodine with it. So, bone accumulates calcium, for example, within it. So each of these tissues has its own frequency based on how much elements they accumulate or they put inside it.
Right.
Therefore, to harmonize your cells again, simply, a normal cell will have high frequency, high vibration.
Right.
A disease cell usually has low vibration. Why? It's like a battery that's going down until it will stop. And if you are, let's say, like many mystics and many religions teaching say that you're created from light, for example. You were in heaven and you were created from light. God created you from light, etc. So, simply, you are light.
Right.
When you're becoming a disease, your light is going down. You're dead. the Hindu people, or for example the Tai Chi people, they will say you have low Chi energy, or your prana is low,
Right.
your mana, your whatever. So many people they call it in so many names.
Yeah.
The point is, your energy is becoming down. So, to be healthy again, I need to give you energy.
Right.
Let's say, for example, one cell has a frequency of 5,000 hertz. This is the optimum. This tissue, due to a disease, a virus or whatever, it became 2,000 hertz in frequency.
Right.
To make this tissue or this cell healthy again, you need to increase its frequency to 5,000. You can do that by so many ways, but one of the most efficient way is to give this frequency for it, to apply this frequency for this cell. So it will start to tune itself. Musicians, they know that. It's like the tuning fork. You can, if two tuning forks are made from the same element, if one is vibrating, the other will vibrate too.
Right.
Which is yeah.
I do show a video demonstration of that in class, and it's one of the first things I explain, because that is how it's so basic, yet it's not taught in physics classes. Dale Pond was explaining it in some of his lectures, and the sympathetic vibratory physics, it's such a basic law of physics that the sitar, which is an ancient Hindu guitar instrument, has the 7 main strings and the 13 sympathetic strings, and when the 13 play in sympathy when you only play the 7. If it's so basic and simple that the sitar can be built out of it, why isn't it taught in physics classes, and why isn't it taught in schools? Because it's and that's why Reiki works as well, and energy, other touch therapies and energy work and light therapy, because like attracts like, and it's entrainment through sympathetic vibratory physics, but it's so basic yet so still widely ignored.
Unfortunately, you need integration, and this is most people like the way the medical system, the teaching system in general. Okay, it doesn't encourage, let's say, free thinking and integration. This is what is in the book. This is what is in the lesson. You just have to just go it, don't digest it, and then regurgitate, vomit it, for example. I'm sorry about this expression. Enter the exam, and that's it. Here's your certificate. Unfortunately, this is the way now how teachings are.
Right.
Because sometimes when I explain to people, they get really amazed. As you said, it's so basic.
Yeah.
But no one ever tells them to put it in just a simple way like this.
Right.
For example, there is many people, they know about the Rife machine, the Rife frequencies,
right,
or the French George Lavoisky machine.
Okay.
These machines in the 1920s, they had been officially installed in hospitals.
Right.
If you can go and read, the literature of these people, you will be amazed that, within the United States itself, many machines, they were installed and they were treating many diseases, including cancer.
Rife cured.
By using frequency only.
Right.
Then suddenly, within one day, it became a crook, and it became rubbish. It became whatever.
Yeah.
So luckily, these things are returning back now, because for any real scientist, all the research within the past 20, 30 years are backing up the idea of vibration frequencies again. Therefore, quantum medicine is nothing more than trying to send a frequency. One of the way I put it for a lot of doctors, okay, and they understand it very well, especially pharmacists. I said, for example, paracetamol. This is a very, very well-known generic name, okay, or scientific name of a drug that is used to relieve pain. Now, paracetamol, it's usually called Panadol, for example, in Europe, Tylenol in the United States. Now, let's say Tylenol, you can find, or Panadol, for example, you can find it as or paracetamol, you can find it as a tablet. You can find it as a syrup. You can find it, for example, as an IV injection in the hospital. The point is, the active material that makes the change is one. But the route is different. One can be taken IV, one can be swallowed as a pill, one can be taken as a syrup.
Okay.
It's the same idea with energy medicine. The active ingredient that will make the change for the cell is the frequency that you're applying.
Right.
The way you will deliver it, you have four ways. Either as a magnetic field with the same frequency, or an electric current with the same frequency, or as a light photon with the same frequency, or color photon, or as sound.
Right.
With the same. So this is the point is you have four modes of delivery: sound, light, magnetic waves, and electric current. Right. And this is the base of so many things that you're seeing now.
Right.
For example, people are talking about light therapy. Other people are talking about magnetic therapy. And some people, they're dividing the magnetic into a static magnetic or pulse electromagnetic field. And you can find so many people are speaking about the same thing. Some of the people, as you said, will speak about Reiki, or about hand healing, all techniques, or about anything that you're speaking about will fall into one of these four.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's another thing with the law of octaves too, is that as you said, there are four different types. You know, the magnetic waves, the sound, light, etc. And that will help people to determine the resonant frequencies they need for healing, for levitation, for anything you need. Because once you realize that, it doesn't occur to a lot of people, but we only separate sound and light and below our hearing and experience those in forms of the lower vibrations like our brain waves and Reiki and touch therapy. We only separate those because we're in physical bodies with eyes and ears, which separate the frequencies and the spectrum into those different ranges. But if you are of a religious belief and you believe that one day you will be in heaven with no body and you're as a spirit, or if you believe in reincarnation and you have this time in between, once our soul isn't, and once our spirit has left this physical body and we don't have ears and eyes anymore or hands to separate these frequencies, we'll be experiencing them all at once. So it'll be, so if you're trying to determine the resonant frequency to cure a cell or to, affect any other result, on this plane, in this reality, we have to separate those, but the understanding of the law of octaves will help people to quicker find, if it's light, if it's sound, the proper frequency to use to affect the results desired. So, and understand that they're all related, and not worry so much on the modality as much as the right frequency and result. So.
For example, while you're talking, it came into my mind. In your last book, okay, sounds great. You spoke about the seventh interval and the work of Fabian Maman. Okay, that he was in Fabian Maman's book. He mentioned and he put some images where he can shatter cancer cells by the use of the seventh interval. And according to you, the seventh interval is 8 hertz, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Schumann resonance is 7.83. Schumann resonance simply is the frequency of Mother Earth.
Right.
This is, it's simply back to the normal.
Right.
That is an abnormal.
Yeah, and also the primary frequency, emitted, and I know you use bioenergy feedback machines, and, it's the primary energy that's emitted from the hands when performing Reiki or touch therapies. It's the Schumann resonance. So yeah, that is.
By the way, you can find, once you start to understand this, I try to put it as simple as I can, because really, when I started to read about this, and I read so many books, I owned so many devices, and one of the way I thought all of this, by when I buy some device, many companies, many manufacturers, they give me, for example, some special notes, special, let's say, references, for me. I started to collect all this knowledge. I wanted to make one image or make one understanding, because I can't believe that, for example, this body, some people are, let's say, using only light, and they are doing fine. They are treating many diseases. Some other people, they are using only night, and they are doing great. Some people are using their hands, something called polarity therapy. Also, they are getting results.
Right.
What is the common denominator here? How, for example, using light can make healing. Sound can make healing. Music can make healing. That's why, one thing led to another. Then I started to indulge myself into what is known as quantum biology now, which is a very new and growing field. Is to understand that the cell that you're dealing with is a form of energy. Everything is energy. Right. Everything is vibration. So understand that the main therapy actually is vibration. Right. And by the way, even for pharmacists, I have a lot of my friends that are pharmacists, and I speak with them. I tell them, do you believe that your drug is working like what is in the pharmacology books, as there is a receptor, and this stupid idea that the drug or the hormone is like a lock and key, and it will start and will come and jump and unite with its receptor and it's make it effect. You believe this rubbish? He said, yeah, this is what the science says. I said, this is all theoretical and has no proof. I'll tell you a very small argument from energy medicine. And I swear to God, you can't find an answer for it. He said, okay, shoot. I said, okay, let's go, for example, to something that any, let's say, good doctor will understand. Testosterone, which is a male hormone.
Yeah.
For you, for any teenager, now, or anyone who is playing bodybuilding, how much testosterone should be in his body normally to become really active and very healthy? The concentration is, if you are, let's say, 20, 21 years old, should be 800 nanogram per deciliter. The free testosterone, which is, of course, this is the total testosterone. Usually the total testosterone, most of it is inactive. Free testosterone is the importance ratio. It will tell you how much free testosterone. It's like your, let's say, I'll make it more easy to understand. The total testosterone is placed as how much cash you have in total. Let's say you have in your bank $5,000. This is all what you got. Okay? But now, in your pocket, you have, let's say, $100.
Right.
You don't have the 5,000. The 5,000 are in the bank. So the total testosterone is the total. It's your money in the bank. Free testosterone is how much in your pocket now that you can cash it.
Okay.
So what is important usually is how much free testosterone in the body.
Okay.
Which is the one that is being used now.
Right.
Believe it or not, it should be more than 15 picogram electricity. You know what's pico? 1 over trillion
Ooh, okay.
of a gram.
Okay.
Nanogram is 1 over 9
Zeros.
1 over a billion.
Oh, yeah.
1 over a billion and 1 over a trillion. Do you believe something, a fraction of a trillion, is going into every cell in your body and it is putting itself on a receptor of that cell and to activate it?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, are you stupid or are you what?
Right.
To believe such an idea?
Yeah.
The real idea, actually, is that this very tiny amount of hormone, due to its structure, while it's circulating in the blood, it's shooting a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And the vibration is, so the cells are like a radio receiver. So suddenly it's a signal came to them, do this.
Mm-hmm.
And they respond.
Right.
This is how quantum biology is explaining the effect of hormones. You know, most of your hormones are in fractions of million to billion per gram.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot see it. That means you cannot even see it in a microscope.
Right.
And in the same time, they are doing a huge amount of effect in your body.
Mm-hmm.
How? This very, very, very tiny 1 in a trillion, 1 in a billion, it will shut itself into what? Atoms and space and sit on the receptor on the cell membrane of each cell in your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very ridiculous idea.
Right.
However, this is how it's being taught in medical school, and it's like, let's say, it's like a religion now. Medicine is becoming like a religion. You don't have to even question this mythology
Right.
or mythological ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
this is one of the ideas that usually I'm telling the pharmacist about. I'm telling them, actually, the drugs that you're giving to your patients are working by their own vibration
Mm-hmm.
into the body. And because these vibrations are synthetic, you know, some guy in a lab or, you know, a team of people, they combine them together.
Right.
So the frequency cannot be harmonious no matter what they do.
Right.
It has to get some form of noise, which is why, for example, now I prescribe to many of my patients, you know, natural progesterone, especially females, okay, for rejuvenation and anti-aging, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Give them natural progesterone that usually they bring from horses or from plants, and give them the synthetic progesterone. It never gives the same effect. Never.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Usually the progesterone, the synthetic is more toxic and more side effects.
Right.
While the natural one is very harmonious with the body.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking that, okay, since it's progesterone, it's the same thing, no, it's not. This is nature, this is God's creation.
Right.
It's very harmonious
Mm-hmm.
with the body. And this has been done by someone who has no knowledge at all with quantum or frequencies or whatever.
Right.
Or he just believes that the body is like the Newtonian dogmas. It's like it's just a set of machine. He can take it apart and put it together.
Right. It occurs to me while you talk about the difference between natural and synthetic chemicals that are, that the natural is obviously more beneficial. And speaking about Fabian Mamann's work with the cancer and using the scale, it's also, and we've talked about this before, the human voice had a better effect. and the human voice on the harp had better effects than the piano and the chimes sets, the sets of, a glockenspiel that he would use. And we know that the intent and the human energy of the voice would have a better effect on, say, the piano, but because of nature, they were also probably, and human voice and harp were probably more flexibly tuned or more properly tuned than a piano or a glockenspiel. But definitely the natural, the piano and glockenspiel would be tuned to the equal temperament and very rigid and synthetic, and even the scale itself is synthetic and man-made, as well as the tones being produced. But a human voice unaccompanied would probably shift to a more natural scale, and so would a harp, someone tuning their harp, so that obviously they had more of an effect on destroying the cancer cell than the man-made and more synthetic tones. So the same goes across the board, no matter,
Of course, for example, for yourself, when you see the hits of the music industry, for example, Adila, with most of her songs, and especially, the one Skyfall for that James Bond movie. You can see very beautiful voice. It's not about the orchestra behind it. It's about the voice, the way she sings. Many, for example, some like the Gregorian chant. One of their music, or one of their songs, "Moments of Peace." I listen to it a lot. I like the hymns, the way they chant.
Yeah.
It's not about the music.
Right.
It's always, the beauty of the human voice and how, it will give you the tone, the pitch, etc. For example, you can listen to a guitar, but it will make a really headache. If you're listening to heavy metal, it will really bring you a headache.
Right.
While if you're listening to anyone who's chanting, you can listen for so many hours without maybe, especially if it's a very nice tune and very beautiful voice, you can listen once or twice or thrice.
Yeah.
Because actually the vibration is leveling you up.
Right. Yeah.
Bringing you to a higher level.
Right. Right, which is what we found with the work we did with studying the chants and the use of the intervals and the scales that all three of the major religions, or at least the Abrahamic religions, all chant, and they all use the same, more or less the same intervals and the same inflections to impress and to relay those healing frequencies to the listeners. So that's definitely was interesting findings there. With how much they have in common, especially when people are so focused on differences these days. But they definitely had more in common than not in that respect. Music is definitely an international language. My message to many people now, when I start to speak, that's why, for example, I made this humble site of mine. I don't know how to make websites. So I just asked one colleague, to do a website with the humble pages, etc. And I started to put some information to people that I didn't do, let's say, very difficult explanation like I'm doing now. Yeah.
But I started to put some ideas and very short abstracts about each type of, for example, energy healing, etc. I just want to make people think a little that before you try, before you listen to people that are saying these are quacks, and this is rubbish, this is has no science behind it, etc.
Right.
Just read and see the references. Believe it or not, what now has been what's now being accused as quackery was real science in the 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s until the Second World War.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the pharmaceuticals has really now the upper hand in everything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Before that, by the way, I read so many literature before the 1940s.
Uh-huh.
I had a huge many books, many manuscripts, and you can be shocked from the names, the very well-respected names that until now they are taught in medical schools. They were speaking about vibration and speaking about natural therapy.
Right. Yeah.
Because simply antibiotics were not there at all at that time.
Right.
So hygiene is a very important thing. Detoxification is a very important thing. Eating healthy food is a very important thing. One of the big eminence of medicine is a French called Bouchard. And they teach us, even now in radiology and medicine, about the Bouchard nodule in fingers in patients with primary rheumatoid arthritis. Sorry, not rheumatoid, osteoarthritis of the hand. Now, Bouchard, they are teaching, until now, they are teaching his name. This guy, I had one of his books, it's written in 1913. It's all about something called auto-intoxication, how the body is becoming rotten from inside due to bad food and bad digestion.
Right.
No one, if you tried now to put auto-intoxication in Google, you will not find a single article about it.
Right.
Life has been erased from history.
Yeah.
Many diseases. Sorry.
Oh, no. Well, when you were speaking about medical books and information before the war, it brought to mind there's a book, and I can't reach it from where I am here, but it was written by a medical doctor, I believe in the late 30s, I believe 1937, and it was a book on the glands and the importance and the power of the gland system and their relation to the chakras. And the way I explain chakras to people who don't fully understand or may have some kind of religious or spiritual opposition to Hindu or Buddhist theories, what I explain to people, or they're unfamiliar with, either way, what I explain to them is that the chakras are what people called glands before medical science started cutting people open and seeing that those energy centers were actually connected to physical aspects of the body that controlled, secreted hormones and affected our behavior and our development and things like that, our sexuality, all of that. But anyway, this book was written in, I believe, 1937 by a medical doctor who wasn't even a Rosicrucian, but AMORC, the order in America, published the book, and it's still a favorite among the Rosicrucians. And he wasn't even a Rosicrucian himself. He just had such an understanding of the connection between the glands, the importance of the glands and their connection to the chakras and our energies, that they went ahead and published it. And he was just, he was one among many doctors at that time who had a better understanding. And those, the glands are relatively ignored outside of pharmaceuticals in today's modern medicine, as far as taking, pharmaceuticals to increase serotonin production and turnover, or, endorphins and things like that. That's the only attention they're given. Nobody speaks of preventative medicine for the glands, or ways to keep them healthy and operative, only ways to make them work overtime if they're failing in one area or another. So, which just depletes you down the road anyway. Or even people who take recreational drugs like MDMA, ecstasy, it uses all your pain-relieving endorphins at once. You feel great for a short period of time, and then you feel horrible for a week afterwards because you've expelled all those, you've used all of that up, and you've forced your glands to overproduce them and use them all up in a short period of time, but then you don't have any to get through your daily life for the next week or so. And so that's all these drugs do, whether pharmaceutical or recreational. They don't actually cure or repair the issue. They just force them to work harder, which probably deteriorates them more quickly and will only lead to complete shutdown as opposed to actually trying to repair them. So.
Let me give you one information since you mentioned serotonin. Mm-hmm. I'll give you two information because you mentioned two things that are interesting.
Okay.
Number one, regarding the tattoo, there is one Chinese guy I just found out about him. He has his own medical system. His name is Tom Tam. T-O-M-T-A-M. Tom Tam.
Okay.
This guy is a Reiki, Tai Chi.
Okay.
Tai Chi Quan expert.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own medical system based on combining traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine.
Okay.
I like his books very much because simply he's the only Chinese guy I saw or I read now who is using anatomical terms and very logical medicine to explain the Chinese medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, when you come to the chakras, he explained it. Chakras simply are areas where the glands and some sympathetic nervous system ganglions are.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. For example, the third eye is the pineal gland. Okay, the neck center is the thyroid, and you go, for example, into the abdomen, it's the celiac ganglion, and that's it. And these are very active, so they have their own magnetic energy coming from them.
Right.
Okay, so I highly recommend this person if you want to go into, if you want to really understand the energy centers, or the energetic system, and the relation to the anatomical part of the body. This is number one.
Right.
Two, when you speak about serotonin, serotonin is a neurotransmitter mainly of the gut.
Mm-hmm.
There is, by the way, the nervous system in the body is divided into three types. One is the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is the peripheral nervous system. These are the nerves that supply your, let's say, limbs. Okay?
Right.
And there is a third one. It's called the enteric nervous system. Enteric, that means it's related to the gut.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best descriptions I read once in an article, it's saying the following. The central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord are like a desktop computer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The enteric nervous system, or the nervous system of the gut, is like a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
This laptop is connected to the desktop via wire, via a special cable.
Mm-hmm.
This cable is the autonomic nervous system.
Right.
The point is, the enteric nervous system is a whole computer by itself. The desktop is a whole computer by itself.
Mm-hmm.
They are connected.
Right.
Therefore, a virus in one computer can go to the next.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to reach, serotonin, in reality, is a neurotransmitter of the enteric nervous system. It is created, believe it or not, it's 90% created actually in your gut, in your intestine.
Right.
And then it is shipped by the platelets and something called mast cells to your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is they call it, the happy hormone or the happy neurotransmitter. Okay, to give you euphoria. The point is, serotonin, 90% is created in your gut, and it's transported into your nervous system. Therefore, when you get people who are sad, who are depressed, who are, let's say, his doctor is saying, okay, you have low serotonin, I should give you Prozac or serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Simply, these people have bad digestion. They have bad digestion. They have constipation. They are complaining of bloating. They are complaining of gases. They are complaining. Their intestines are not working. The manufacture of serotonin is not working.
Right.
So they need serotonin. The brain cannot make it. The brain usually the brain makes very slight amount. Let's say 90% of the amount is coming from the gut. Now the gut itself is diseased for whatever the reason, so it cannot manufacture the serotonin. So the patients will start to crave some food that will give them serotonin. One of them is carbohydrate, sweet, chocolate. All these things, they crave these things because these things, they will bring tryptophan, which is an amino acid that will be the precursor for serotonin making. Therefore, when you get people who are really having issues with depression, etc., and they are afraid food, etc., and somebody tells them, okay, you have a low serotonin in your body. Yeah, you have a low serotonin because you have a problem in your gut. But another thing, when you come to the frequency, there are two devices I own. One is made by a Canadian company. It's called SOTA. SOTA. They have a small device called BioTuner. You just put it in your ears, and it will tune your body. It will retune your brain, and it will give you, or it will take you off the crazy. And they have some cases where people on drugs has been killed within 5 days just by using specific frequencies, targeting their brains. These frequencies will treat the serotonin deficiency.
Right.
And in access for all of these neurotransmitters, oxytocin, or for example, this organization can be retuned again by sending frequency, not drugs, not nutrition.
Right.
One. And another one I own is called the Pennant Biomodulator, okay, created by an American doctor, okay, from Texas. He has a very specific, set of frequencies, harmonic. It's not just one frequency, it's harmonic, multiple frequencies that are related to each other. And you can deliver these frequencies via an electric current with the patient, just having two hand grips that are connected to the device. The device will send these frequencies and as an electric current that the patient will feel very gently in his hands via the hand grips he's holding, and these frequencies go into the brain.
Right. I remember seeing...
I myself, sorry?
I remember looking at that one when you sent me the link for it. I remember the one where you hold the rods in your hand for the frequencies, yeah.
Yeah. So I tried it myself, and I tried it on many patients. Believe it or not, I had one patient, and I can send you, by email, if you like, I can send you the image because I sent it to the doctor. A female lady who is having a breast lesion. It's a benign breast. It's called fibroadenoma, whatever. The point is, there is some theories that, many people with tumors and cancers, they have suppressed emotions inside them. They have bad frequencies are, locked into their tissues.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you are a believer of the quantum theory and its application to the body, you can understand this very well.
Right.
Okay, that your body is energy and it's holding some form of energy in one area, and this very abnormal energy is giving energy to cancer cells to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the ways, and this is work by a German doctor called Rick Hammer. He created a whole, and unfortunately he was, ridiculed and like so many great doctors before him. Mm-hmm. He created something called the German New Medicine. You can Google it, German New Medicine. Mm-hmm. Now the point is, the whole point of this German New Medicine that, you do an emotional release for cancer patients, and the cancer will lose one, not say the whole, one of its power sources, mm-hmm. which is the emotions hold this inside the body. Of course, conventional medicine just feeds this fear and this, very emotional disturbance by telling the patient, you have 3 months to live, you have 6 months to live, there is no hope, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. The point is, right. After I made an emotional release for this lady, mm-hmm. thank God we were in the hospital. Mm-hmm. She collapsed. Within 10 minutes, mm-hmm. she collapsed. This lady, she has so many problems and emotional disturbances from her childhood and from her husband, is abused. She has so many things.
Right.
She's complaining from back pains and headaches, very, very big.
Right.
I told her, and I know her history about the long-term abuse. So I told her, what? Why don't I use or try to release your emotion? Mm-hmm. You'll get really relieved out of it. She said, I need anything, because she contacted me. She wants anything, any psychological drives or care, because she cannot sleep. She's always crying. I told her, let's try energy medicine to release these emotions. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I spent, within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
She collapsed.
Right.
She not just collapsed. She went into a form of epilepsy. She started to seize. Mm-hmm. I really, I was shocked. And the nurses, etc. We took her to the ER, put oxygen there. Nothing is there. They took her blood pressure. It's perfectly fine, mm-hmm. perfectly normal.
Right.
They took the sugar level. It's normal.
Right.
Blood pressure is normal. Temperature is normal. Everything is normal. And she's seizing, and she's seizing. So they put her under observation, because simply there is nothing wrong with the body.
Right.
Anyway, within 1 hour, she, woke up. Where am I? What happened? She completely forgot everything.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So I told her, you have been through, etc. You don't remember anything? She said, no. I remember I collapsed, and that's it.
Wow.
And I told her, you were seizing. It's like a very powerful energy is coming out of your body, mm-hmm. from time to time. She said, I cannot remember that. The point is, she didn't tell me that, by the way. She told me later. She had a breast tumor.
Oh.
She has kept it, and she was very scared of it. Okay, and it made her very uneasy. Mm-hmm. That tumor was, I think, I don't remember the exact number. So if you want, I can send you the image. You can find them. But the point is, it was about 3 centimeters something. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Right.
Yeah. This measurement was done 2 days before she came to me.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
She she told me, she contacted me after 5 days, and she told me the story. I had a tumor, and the doctor who made the ultrasound told me about it, and I was so upset, I was so scared. That's why I came to you for anything, any tool that can, for example, make me calm.
Mm-hmm.
She said, to my amazement, I cannot feel it. So she went again to the doctor, the same doctor who did the first ultrasound.
Mm-hmm.
She did the ultrasound again, the tumor shrunk 50 to 60%.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
When she told me that, okay, I'm a radiologist, this is my work, I couldn't believe it, actually. I told her, I need to see the images. She said, okay. She brought me the images.
Mm-hmm.
Even the radiologist or the sonographer who did this ultrasound, she told her, what have you done? I just, ultrasound you 5 days back. It was 3 centimeters. Now it's 2.
Okay.
Or 1.5, something. It's impossible.
Yeah.
What have you done? She said nothing.
Right.
I took this case and I sent it to the doctor, the American doctor, Dr. Jarrah Interview. I told him, see this. This reminds me of Dr. Rick Friedhammer, the German doctor who said that, a lot of cancer patients, they have bad emotions stored inside their body.
Mm-hmm.
And these emotions are magnetic fields. Magnetic fields can generate energy. It's the dynamo. It's the Tesla idea.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Most of your electricity in your home now is generated by what? By a generator. A generator is nothing other than a magnetic field that circulates into another magnetic field, and it creates an electric current.
Right.
This is pure physics I'm speaking about. I'm not speaking hopes.
No, right. Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, anyone who cannot, with no idea or let's say no background of physics or biophysics, will see that this is a hoax.
Right.
But when you start to explain it for him, it's pure physics that you have been already taught in medical, in the secondary or the primary school. That two magnetic fields with 2 different frequencies, they can generate electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And, most of emotions are nothing more than a magnetic field generated from the brain.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's why, sometimes when I explain it to doctors, I tell them, you believe you have electricity in your body or not?
Mm-hmm.
Believe me or not, believe me. Some of them, just as a reflex. We have electricity. I said, yeah, you idiots, because simply there is something called electromyogram, the ECG.
Right.
Something called electroencephalogram. Once I start to say this name, oh, yeah, you're right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
they're programmed.
yeah. Yeah, and they're right, and they're our brain waves are just that. They're waves, they're frequencies, they're from the 0 up until 50 or higher or so or whatever, but they're waves. And that's one of the first things I have to explain in class too, is that not only are we all made up as waves, you can they're quantifiable, you can see them, you can measure them. I had
So if you have a wave coming out of your brain, doesn't that mean that you can get waves into your body?
Right, exactly. And that's why, music, color, light, those things affect us emotionally because they're having an effect on the waves that are already present. And just like a drug or food, once you introduce other energies and frequencies to existing energies and frequencies, they alter them and change them, either for the good, the better, or better or worse, or neutral. And most people absorb ones that negatively attune our own energies. They negatively attune their brain waves with music and video, movies and TV. They negatively influence their brainwaves with cell phones and, the microwaves and electronics, and they negatively affect their bodies with the food they ingest and the air they breathe and the chemicals, the cigarettes, the drugs they use. They pollute their frequencies with negative frequencies more often than not. So, of course, that's going to produce disease. If not in just that one area, then multiple areas. Everything's connected. So, especially when you combine all of those things, if someone, the worse a lifestyle a person leads, generally, the worse health they are in, physically. So,
therefore, I hope from this conversation that at least, some people, when they hear this, they just get interested. Actually, they go into reading about, the biology and quantum physics. Quantum physics by itself is really, boring sometimes and very difficult to understand. But once you listen to some people who are combining the theories of the quantum physics and apply it to the body, you'll start to love it, actually, because it's putting things now into your mind. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, even though these people who are, starting now to explain this to, let's say, the main media, mm-hmm. although some of them they don't even believe in God.
Right.
They are now believing in higher, not necessarily God, but they believe in higher forces. They believe in, because simply most of the quantum physics, if you want to understand it, it will bring the old religious ideas. Mm-hmm. It's really amazing. A lot of doctors, they just laugh about, people who are religious or that they have faith in God, etc. That this is, science. The pure science has nothing to do with God. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, most of these people now, although they have indulged themselves in science, pure science, mm-hmm. and pure science is taking them again to the religious.
Right. Wait, well, it's difficult to say that you're looking for the God particle, but that you don't believe in God in the same sentence. That's kind of ridiculous. So,
exactly.
How can you have one without the other? It doesn't really make sense. So, so they're finally having to accept.
Lastly, okay, I can, for example, for anyone who is interested, okay, to listen at least, not mm-hmm. just read quantum biology, I highly recommend the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton and the physicist, and he's also he's a friend, the physicist Gregory Braden. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
These two, you can Google them. They have very beautiful, very religious, although they are not religious, by the way. Mm-hmm. Most of them, they speak in a very, they cannot say, they don't say, for example, I am a Christian, I'm a Hebrew, I'm a Muslim, no, they don't say that.
Right.
But they believe in collective consciousness, okay, that there's a God somewhere, that when we die, we will go into another state of, you want to call it heaven or earth, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. The point is, these two people I highly recommend. As a start, I have so many other people to recommend, mm-hmm. but these two are very, very elegant, very intelligent, and their lectures are very highly recommended.
Great, okay. I'll look them up too, and the Tom 10 as well. So definitely interested in reading his work and those two as well, so that would be great.
I can send their website and their links to you by email.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I'd love to see those images too. That sounds really interesting. I found a video. I'm forgetting what it's called. I might be able to pull it up here and tell you. I found a video that actually demonstrates a tumor being. It's similar to my man's work. Yeah, with it.
This is a very, very interesting and very, really shocking at least to me, because I'm a radiologist. I'm seeing this in movies. I know this is not, this cannot be, forged.
Right.
He showed in one of his lectures, a tumor in the bladder that has been killed or vanished.
Right.
In 3 minutes by chanting of monks.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Yep. Yeah, I show that in class too. It's amazing. Yeah.
How I said, bizarre or scary, you can call it whatever you want.
Right.
But, how this is possible?
Yeah.
It's possible because they are shooting a vibration like a rice machine.
Exactly. Yep, just like...
From their voices.
Right, yeah, it's an amazing video. I'm glad it's out there now. So many people don't believe in Reiki or magnetic or touch therapy. They say there's no evidence of it. It's not quantified. They're just uneducated in that department because there's plenty of evidence for it, as well as any other kind of vibration or light therapies. So, yeah.
I tell my friends, if I'm bringing you images, I've treated many people, and some of them on my website. Okay, before and after images, radiographic images. If all of this is not evidence-based, what's evidence-based mean?
Right. Yeah.
How do you call evidence-based medicine? Evidence-based, that means you have a theory. You put this theory to see a result. If this result you cannot understand, okay, this is something. Then I can explain it to you. But just to ignore everything simply because you don't understand the physics behind it.
Right.
Okay, just say I'm ignorant in this, and that's fine. We can teach you.
Right.
Don't come and just shoot that this is a quackery.
Right.
Who says so?
Yeah.
That means, okay, everything Einstein said is quackery.
Right.
Just because you don't like the application of Einstein's physics on biology.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's where a lot of scientists and physicists run into a wall, and also, more fanatical religions, people who are very one-track minded, as more rational people who study, who constantly, our work and theories change, we can understand. I believe in astrology. It's not my department. I have friends who understand it better than me, but I don't say that it's non-existent just because I don't fully understand it. I've seen examples of it working. I know that it makes sense. Just because I don't understand all the ins and outs of that particular department doesn't mean that it doesn't exist and that it's something untrue. It's just, I could understand it if I took the time. Just not my department. I do enough. There are other people who do it better. So, I can take their word for it and move on, So hopefully science and physics will, begin that too.
You know what? From at least my point of view, some of the people, it also depends on the speaker. Sometimes if you want to go, and this is an advice for anyone who's listening to this, don't ever try to explain this to people, or let's say medical people, or anyone who has prejudiced ideas, without you first to be very powerful, okay, in biophysics and etc. Because the moment you explain the biophysics and you mention the Einstein ideas, etc., the other guy usually cannot argue that much with you.
Right.
Because it is really now evident that you are more educated than him.
Right.
If you want to go into, a useless debate, anyone who's listening will know that he's ignorant. He's just ignorant, and he's just debating on nothing.
Right.
However, if you have a partial idea and you start to argue with someone who has more knowledge than you are, even if it's a bad knowledge, he will put you in a very bad situation, and then suddenly you will look like a clown.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, many of those people, rather than listen and learn and accept that they're just naive, will, become defensive and try to just attack you as a person and just say you're crazy and it doesn't exist. So rather than like I said, admit that they just may have something to learn about it. So
it's about, for example, how good you are, in understanding the physics, or let's say the ideas behind these things,
mm-hmm.
and how you present it. And
right.
Believe me, I was able to change so many ideas of so many medical doctors by the way I explain things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, they say, the way you put it is very nice, but is it real? Usually I tell them, bring me a case. Bring me a patient.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, most of them, they come sometimes to me as patients. One that has, for example, knee pain, one has headache, one has abdominal pain, although they are doctors, and then I tell them, why don't I try, for example, something, drugless, and see.
Mm-hmm.
And when I use these devices, and they feel that the pain, instantly gone, they start to believe.
Right, yeah.
And some of them, they own some devices.
Mm-hmm.
They start to buy something.
Good, yeah.
But
see, when I went to...
sorry.
Well, just in regards to that, I went to, I think I've told you I made that pain relief track with the 5 and 10 hertz for, the release of pain relieving endorphins and serotonin production and turnover, and it works. If I use about 10 minutes each of it with the brainwave entrainment tracks, it'll get rid of a headache or any other kind of pain. I had a burn on my finger one time. I was away from home, but I just ran the track in my head. Like, sometimes people say, I have this song stuck in my head. I could just hear it in my head, and it got rid of the pain. So when I went to cardiology for an EKG and an EEG at the same time, they kept saying, what do you use for pain relief? What do you use for painkillers? Because I have a heart condition and, joint and tissue disorder. What do you use for your neck pain, back pain, your headaches? I said, I don't get headaches anymore. Well, what do you use for your neck pain? I said, 10 hertz. I use Reiki, I meditate, I do yoga. I don't need your pills. They just kept wanting to sell me prescriptions. And when I tried to explain to them that I use frequencies and yoga and meditation and sound, they didn't want to hear it. They just shut down and wouldn't respond to me. When they actually hooked me up to the machines, I said, so what's my heart rate? About this? Yeah, it's about that. And, I'm looking at the EEG of my brainwaves. And I said, now watch this. And I just closed my eyes and took a couple deep breaths and completely shifted my brainwaves within a matter of about a minute. And the nurse who was actually working on that found it really interesting and wasn't opposed to what I was talking about, or actually proved to her that I could do. But everyone else was just really mad that I wouldn't buy their pills and didn't want to hear about it and didn't think that it was real. But I said, I can show you. I can control my brainwaves. I don't need your drugs for that. There's no side effects. And what are you going to do? Give me a drug to release serotonin? I can do that with 10 hertz. I'll just think about it for a minute and I'll release more serotonin. You can sit here and watch it.
Bruce Lipton, in one of his lectures, he said something very, very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And people stopped to applaud, actually.
Yeah.
He said, medicine nowadays, with all these rigid minds, it's like the church okay, in the 18th century with all these inquisitions, okay? He said, we just, unfortunately, now with the dogmas that is becoming, okay, like the dogmas at that time, we just changed people with the black coat with people with the white coat.
Yeah, right.
It's the same rigid mind, the same inquisitions, the same heresy, the same. It's anything that comes that is not in their dogma is a heresy.
Right.
That needs to be punished.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I hope you've enjoyed this first talk with Dr. Jarrah, and stay tuned for more in the future. He is currently practicing in Kuwait City, Kuwait, and you can find his website at medicalilluminati.com. Thanks for listening, and love, light, sound, and vibration. I'm Damian Keller.